you're at a restaurant, Jess, honestly, how often do you order dessert? Like when you're there, are you like every time? Are you like 100% of the time kind of person?
Not always actually, because I usually eat so much of the meal that I don't.
That you can't get to dessert?
After.
Huh.
It's not usually.
I love cheesecake. Oh boy, here we go. Oh, here we go. You know what, Jess? I'm not going to ask you what we want to talk about today. I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about because I'm excited for this one. Let's talk about unusual things that happen while you're showing a house. Like just weird experiences or like funny things.
I got some
if
for
that's
sure.
fine with you, okay? Is that cool, dude?
Yeah.
All right. Ready, set? Real estate. So Jess, tell me, what is one that stands out in your mind if I asked you, like, what's a funny or weird, unusual showing experience you've had?
So I remember one time going to a showing at a duplex, which is supposed to be 2 units. And then when we got there, the tenant was like, it's a triplex. And we were like, what? It says on the listing here, it's a duplex. And I reread it. I'm like, it says clearly it's a duplex. There's 2 units. The tenants are like, no. We added a 3rd unit. I'm like, you guys did what?
So they added their own?
I guess. So then when we went into the one part of the duplex, they were yelling at us. They're like, we didn't know you were coming. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know. I got it confirmed. And so they're like, whatever, you can stay here. And so we looked around and then we looked through some other door. And that's when they're like, this is the triplex apartment we added. And I don't even know what was going on. There was a really big scary dog that was trying to get out to attack us. So we didn't go in there. I don't know if it was a room or like if it was some sort of like, I don't even know, structure attached to the side of the duplex. Like I don't even know. So we got out of there. And then when we were going to go look at the second actual unit in the duplex that was vacant, I remember being outside of the door saying like, well, where's the key for this one? How do we get in there? And I guess the tenant heard me in the one that wasn't vacant. And he was just like, I can get you in there. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know why he has a key to the vacant unit, but whatever. Yeah. So then he came out with this like giant butcher knife and starts like doing something to the door. And I'm like standing right beside this knife with the buyer, like my buyer, and my buyer's like, I don't know if I'm interested in this.
You're like, you don't want to see the rest of the house? Like, why are you not interested?
And I'm just like, I'm not really comfortable with the knife. Like, it was just super close to my face. Like this massive butcher knife, like right, because I was like beside the door and it's like doing stuff into the door and I'm like looking at my buyer, like, you sure you like this?
It's like stuff you don't want to tell Jeff, like your partner. It's like, you're like, I don't want you doing real estate anymore. You're not going to come home one day.
Yeah, it was wild, but we left and he didn't buy it and he wasn't interested. And he's kind of like, so is the city okay with this extra unit? I'm like, no, I really don't think they would be. So what kind of stories do you have?
Well, there's one that like stands out in my head. I think it was like year 3 or something. I was in real estate, so I don't know, 2019, and I was helping a girl, fake name, Jessica, and she was just buying by herself, and we're looking at a house on Western Avenue, and I remember it was one of those ones where it said listing agent will be present for the showing, which I'm like, oh, that's weird, because usually that's like really high-end houses where like it's a security thing on top of me, the buyer's agent as well, which is more than enough anyways, and rules wise and stuff. So I knew like it was kind of weird. So I get there and I remember, so the house, and I go up to the door and I knock on it, and then when I knock on it, the door just opens like literally like that much. And I hear like that. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, hey, like I'm here to show the house. Like, is it okay if we come on in? And the listing agent wasn't here yet, actually, at this point. And this is like, I waited 5-10 minutes to make sure. So I'm like, I don't think the listing agent's showing up. I think I tried reaching out, no answer. I can't really remember, it was a while ago. But anyway, so yeah, knock on the door opens. I'm like, what? And then a dog's snout just like pops into the door. And I'm like, huh? And it scared the crap out of me. And then Jessica, she got kind of like freaked out a little bit too, and so she like walks down and like keeps her distance. I'm like it's all good, and we're just here to like look at the house. More like, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do. So I'm like, okay, let's just like go back out. So we go back out towards the road, and the agent is hasn't shown up yet, but is like about to, like within like say 2 or 3 minutes. She comes outside I think it was a tenant, with the dog, and starts circling us, like with the dog, and not being coherent at all, like didn't say anything, just circling us, and we're like standing like what's going on? She's just circling us and wouldn't really let us like get to the house. Not that we were really trying to, but I could tell she was kind of more guarding the house. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do now. And I'm like kind of looking at Jessica, like, if you want to go, like we can go. But as an agent, you got to show the house. You're not here to be like, hey, cancel the appointment. No, it's up to her, not up to me. But so she never really gave me that indication. Agent shows up, and then he's trying to like bring the owner kind of aside so we can like get in, and he's able to. And then as we're about to go in, he goes up to me and he's like, he actually whispers in my ear, he's like, oh, just so you know, there's a pet squirrel in the basement, just be careful. And I'm like, what? There's a pet squirrel in the basement of the house? Like, that's weird, like that's not normal. So I go in, and kind of like sad, but it just was very unusual. The whole house was all red walls, none of the lights worked, and it was like a wartime house, small. And there's like no doors, and there's this stuff on the walls, but I literally couldn't see anything. Like in my memory, it's all just so dark. And then I remember going to the door to then go downstairs. I'm like, here we go, pet squirrel. I'm gonna get attacked. And I know the wartime house, the basement's a crawl space.
Yeah,
so you go down there, you're gonna be like crawling, and it could even be a dirt floor. And if I can't see anything up here, I'm not gonna see anything down there. So I open the door, and then I'm like, please, Jessica, tell me you don't want to like see the rest of this house. And I remember like purposely like I go down a couple steps, and then I like kind of look back at her, and I'm like, so yeah, like you want to go down? She's like, and she actually like at first, like throughout this whole experience, she actually seemed interested, which I was surprised. And then she like looks at me and she's like, you know what, like I think I've had enough, like it's okay. And I'm like, oh my God, thank God. But I didn't say to her like, let's not look at it. I just was like, are you sure? And she's like, no, like it's okay. I don't think I'm interested in the house anymore. So then like we left, and that was really weird. One more, actually, I'm gonna tell one more. This is like really quick, but it was like about like weapons. I went to a showing out near Norwood 3-4 months ago, and it was a go direct. So what that just means is you go there and you just go into the house. There's no lockbox code. And so I get there, and you don't usually ever just go into a house. It's not really smart, right? You knock on the door just to, and you wait a bit. So I don't know why we're at the back door. There must have been a reason, I just forget. Knock on the door, and then I wait a bit, and all of a sudden I'm about to open the door, and there's a curtain right in front, and there's like this much space, and there's a like 11 or 12 or 13-year-old girl on rollerblades is like coming right at me, like right in front of me, like on rollerblades, like zooming around. And I was like, whoa. And then we go in the house, and she just like forgot there was a showing, I guess, like her and her mom who was there. So we go in, it smells really bad, like cat pee the whole time, just not in great shape. And then right as we're about to leave, we go through the front door, and I remember right beside the door there was a giant rifle, like a huge gun right there. And I was like, oh my God, imagine if like I scared someone, like come to the door with the gun or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in Canada, I should be safe from guns and stuff. It was wild. I was like, maybe I need to get a new career change after that.
Yeah, you just never know what you're walking into.
I know, like safety is so like big in real estate. You got to be so careful.
It is, and yeah, I think it's important not to really meet with people you don't know and whatnot.
Yeah.
Too.
I know.
Because I do remember, well, nothing happened, but I went to this one where the guy wanted to sell, and when I got there, he said like he couldn't move or leave the chair or something, so he just said, look around yourself. Like he couldn't move for some reason, so. Yeah. I looked around, and then I stepped into like the master bedroom, and the whole mattress was soaked in blood, like an extreme amount. So as soon as I stepped in the room, I'm like, I'm gonna die, basically. And I just like froze and turned back into the living room, and I was like, just kind of backing up towards the door. I'm like, there's like a lot of blood in there, or I don't know what I really said. Normal. Something I don't really remember because I was scared.
Yeah.
And then I think he brought it up. He just said, "Oh, by the way," like after the fact, could have warned me something about like I think he hit his head or his ear was bleeding or something. So I realized after, like, okay, and I saw whatever his ear or something, but it was just like, whoa.
Imagine
in that moment,
crazy.
Right? When I first walked in, it was like. Because there was time, like it was weighing down the mattress. I don't know what happened, but there was no sheets on it, and it was all the whole mattress was blood.
Just soaked. Oh my God.
And it was like clear as day, like at the
Wild.
door, like, cause I didn't go in the room. I glanced in and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of scary. That was a scary,
Yeah,
but I
that's
mean, it
terrifying.
quickly, I was relieved, but in that moment I was like, what did I just
Yeah, in that moment, you'd be like, there's a murder scene. I'm
Walk
going to call the
into.
police right now.
Yeah, and I mean, there's all kinds of things you come across. There's like sad situations, you know, where you walk into a room and you say to the seller or something like, what's with this? And then they tell you a story and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
It gets
like,
so personal so fast.
or like sometimes they'll tell you, like, I don't really want to give examples about like those kind of personal
Yeah.
situations, but like something happened and
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, I didn't expect you to say that. I
Yeah.
just kind of was asking like, oh, what's with that? Or, oh, that's unique.
Yeah.
And then they explain and you're like, oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
really sad or traumatizing, or that's not what I was expecting you to say. So you run into that stuff a lot. And a lot of things that are questionable. Like I do remember when I was new and young and I was at an open house, some guy was hiding in my open house. And then, yeah, it
Like,
was,
did he come up and approach you after or something?
yeah.
Imagine if you lock up the house and you didn't know, even though you should check
Right.
everywhere, but someone could hide somewhere, and he just stays in there.
Yeah, so I have a totally different protocol for all that stuff now.
Yeah.
I think I was naive, and nothing crazy happened, good, fortunately, but it was,
But
yeah,
if
it
something's
was
gonna
scary.
happen, it's probably someone like that that's doing weird things like
Oh,
that.
like
right?
hiding
So,
in the garage, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then more people
crazy.
came in, and it was fine. But it's yeah, you have to be careful too.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing for realtors to be aware of, because when they're newer and they think, oh, I need to do this, I'm trying to build my business. This guy wants to meet me at this vacant house. I have to go there. Like that's my job.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I thought when I started, and then I realized and learned different ways of, you know, being
Like
smarter
catching on to red flags and learning
and being
things.
smarter, bringing
Yeah.
people with you.
They literally teach us safety. Like
Right.
just what things to be aware of and have a buddy system, stuff like that, right?
I think people are more aware now, so, you know, of
Yeah.
what to do, and hopefully less people are going to vacant houses in the middle of nowhere by themselves.
Yeah.
And that
At
sort of
like
thing.
night or something, you can't see anything in the country down a laneway. Like it's crazy
Mm-hmm.
sometimes how you could feel in a moment. And then the other thing too is if houses are tenanted, I always find that's where you usually have like weird experiences, or it always feels kind of uncomfortable or awkward because you're like in their space kind of thing, you know?
Sometimes they don't want the house to sell. I've had a lot of situations where, yeah, we've went there and they didn't know we were coming or missed the message or said they didn't
Yeah.
know, and then they threaten us. And
Yeah.
like I've had, I remember a particular one where the tenant came out and threatened us, and my client was scared and they hid behind a car. And they were like, you can deal with them because this is terrifying.
Yeah.
And I felt bad for my client because I'm like, oh, this is just normal real estate. Let me just deal with this.
Another day
here.
in the life here.
Another day in the life here. I got this.
got
and then
this.
they're like, is this like, are we going to get hurt? Like, I'm like, no, it's.
But it's
So-
tough for as a buyer's agent, like showing a house to a buyer, because you just get confirmation how
Right.
to access the home, whether lockbox code, stuff like that. Things to be aware of, like don't put your finger in the parrot cage, or bird cage. I've had that before. Don't let the cats out, whatever, right?
Basic information.
Yeah, stuff you need to be aware of, but you don't get told like. I mean, you should if they are aware, but tenant is wild, might threaten you upon, entering the home, right? It's like,
Yeah, and I think that the buyer sometimes doesn't realize that we don't know all the information about the house. Like,
Yeah.
unless maybe it's our listing and
Yeah.
we're representing the seller, but if we're not, we haven't
might be
even
seeing
been there
it the
before.
first time as they are seeing it.
Yeah, we have often haven't been there before, so
Yeah.
when we bring them through, it's like it's our first time here
First
too.
experience with
So
you, yeah.
I think sometimes buyers think like, why didn't they warn me? It's like, oh, I didn't know either.
Yeah.
Like I've never been here.
Yeah.
Or I would have warned you
Yeah.
for all of our sakes. So
I know, such a funny job. Hey, it's wild. There's more. I know there's more stories we could share on that, but we should probably wrap that up.
yeah, for sure. We'll talk
Alrighty.
about it more next time.
Let's do it.